Good evening, members of council, staff, ladies and gentlemen. I see that we have quorum, and I call this regular meeting for the Town of Pelham Council for Monday, March 18th, 2013 to order. We'll begin in a moment with an invocation and the singing of the national anthem, but first we'll begin with a moment of silence in memory of the former town alderman, Ronald Secord. Mr. Secord passed away on March 11th in his 94th year. He was a member of council in the term from 1981 to 1982. He lived most recently at Lookout Ridge retirement home. He was very active in Pelham Minor Hockey Association and was a commissioner for many years. And his son Travis and members of his family are here. And I know that Councillor Ribiak also went to the visitation on behalf of council. And on behalf of council, I offer our condolences to you on the passing of your father. Council made a donation in his memory to Pelham Cares, and a bronze plaque will be hung in the council chambers just here above the audience. So let's have a moment of silence for Ronald Secord. Please stand. Thank you. Councillor Papp, if you wouldn't mind doing the invocation. Thank you.
Let us bow our heads. Dear God, who has given us grace to make our common goals unto Thee, and who dost promise that when two or more are gathered together in Thy name, You will grant their requests. Fulfill now, O Lord, the petitions of Thy servants as they may be expected of them. Grant all in this council chambers the knowledge of trust, justice, and honor in all considerations placed before them. As well as we prepare for the Easter season, may we encourage God, give the strength to our new Pope Francis and all members of the churches across the world so that we may challenge and continue to work towards alleviating poverty and oppression in the world as we know it. Amen.
Amen. O Canada, our home and native land, true patron all, in all Thy Son's command, with glowing hearts we see Thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for Thee. God, keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for Thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for Thee. Thank you, Councillor Papp, and all, and again, condolences to you, Mr. Secord. Next is the approval of the agenda. Thank you. And it has been moved by Councillor Ribiak, seconded by Councillor Papp, that the agenda for the March 18th, 2013 regular meeting of council be adopted. Are there any changes to the agenda? Councillor Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to add at item 14.1 a brief report from the Pelham Minor Hockey Association.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor King, will you second that?
I will.
Thank you. And let's vote on that amendment. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion, that amendment is carried. Any other changes to the agenda? There being none, I call the question on the amended agenda. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried as amended. The next item is disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Do any members have any pecuniary interest they need to declare? Councillor Ribbiak.
Mr. Mayor, I have a direct pecuniary interest in Report 14.2.5 and its related bylaw 17.1, item 17.1 in the agenda.
And the general nature?
These are investments of my wife and I.
They're your property?
They're my property, yes.
Thank you very much. That is noted. Any others? Can that be noted as well, please? Thank you. We do not have any delegations or presentations, but we do have Regional Councillor Brian Beatty here. Good evening, Councillor Beatty. Thank you for joining us.
Just made it in time. I had another meeting. Conservation Authority. So I have the report here today. This is from the standing committee meetings that were held. We moved it back a week to avoid March break. So we met March 5th and 6th. And these are the reports that will be coming to Regional Council this week. Corporate Services, we received a report and approved the initiation of the 2013 capital project, Wet Weather Combined Sewer Overflow, called the CSO Control Program, just shy of $3 million. Received a report and approved a revised authorization for the issuance of debentures through Infrastructure Ontario for funding for the expansion of Lundy's Lane Museum. That was an amount just in excess of $3 million. Received a report on assessment stabilization. Directed staff to file an appeal with the City of Niagara Falls with respect to the property assessment for the Fallsview Casino and Casino of Niagara. Quite a hit was taken by the downsizing of those assessed property values. Received a report on tax policy and approved the 2013 tax policy ratios and rates. And received a report on the Corporate Services Department, their strategic plan or work plan update for 2013. Report on the statement as well of the remuneration expenses for members of council and council appointees for the year 2012, as is required for public disclosure. And received an update report on the Niagara Regional Police Services Headquarters 1 District, Niagara Falls and 2 District progress. Received a report and approved the design plan for the council chamber renovations. Basically, as you're aware right now, the council chamber is a sloped area. It doesn't meet the accessibility standards. And so the design is going to be more of a facing inward, so that council's faces will be seen by the audience rather than their backs, as it currently is. And we'll be going into temporary headquarters in various meeting rooms for about a 6-month period, I believe, Mr.
I think so, yeah. Starting at the September, oh, no, it won't be that long. Just starting in September and going till the end of November.
3 months then, okay. Integrated Community Planning Committee received delegations, a presentation, as well as communications with respect to Regional Policy Plan Amendment 196 and Niagara Falls Official Plan Amendment 106, and subsequently approved the amendments related to the northwest quadrant of the City of Niagara Falls. If you think of Club Italia, and there's a hotel, I think a trailer park in that area, it is unserviced, but it's there's a strange demarcation in Niagara Falls. The straight line just will make the rectangle what it should have been. We may have difficulty because the province, I believe, is going to challenge that. I don't know, OMB hearing in terms of the fact of adding that area to Niagara Falls. In particular, it was supported because that is going to be the start of the Gateway Center in terms of, or not the Gateway Center, but it's a case of the centers on this end, the Gateway Zone, in terms of from there to the Peace Bridge. So we'll see how that works in terms of future rollout. Received reports on the Greater Niagara Circle Route related to asset management and management issues. Approved a $200,000 budget for 2013 related to these issues. What's happening, a couple of things. First of all, there have been some areas of cave-ins, in particular in Thorold, mainly I think due to the drainage issues. So there have been some major repairs. Actually, it's each municipality that has control of the various parts of the circle route, but the problem is that there hasn't been an ongoing look at, because the asphalt in time is going to crack, it's going to need repairs and upgrading and so on. So we're using funds that were put aside for the original acquisition of properties to try and get that underway at the moment. One of the big ticket items that we're concerned about is the fact that the Seaway Authority had a contract once the bridge was taken out in Port Robinson to run a shuttle van as well as the ferry. It's become a very unique part of the circle route because folks can now, if they want to do just half the circle route, take the ferry across, get back to Niagara Falls. In most cases, that's where the tourists will be coming from. That ferry replacement and so on is probably going to happen, but then the operating costs are going to come back to the region and municipality in terms of that. And what's happened is that it started off with just the captain of the ship being on there, but because of safety rules and so on, they also have to have a second person on board. So there's a fair operational expense. But in terms of the cycling community, there's very significant use of that ferry. So that'll be a cost item cost item as we move forward. Received a report related to the 2013 Environmental Awards Program. Appointed individuals for the selection process. I volunteered to serve. I did last year. I found it to be very informative. There's a number of environmental awards in various categories, and it's extremely positive adventure in terms of going through reviewing the proposals for selection. Received a report on the implementation of the Smarter Niagara Incentives Program, improved public domain incentive requests from the town of Grimsby, Niagara Falls, yourselves, town of Pelham, city of St. Catharines, as well as township of West Lincoln. Total of $427,000 and $442. I'm not sure, Mr. Mayor, exactly what the amount was. I couldn't find it in the report for the town of Pelham.
It was 27,000,
About 27.
is that correct? Yeah.
Okay. Approved a statutory public meeting regarding an IMS compost facility with the meeting scheduled for Thursday, May 2nd at 6:30 in the town of Lincoln. It hasn't been determined, but the Zimmerman Road is the proposed location for this composting facility. Public Health and Social Services Committee received a presentation with respect to the YMCA of Niagara, their strategic plan. Received a presentation report and authorized the use of the one-time grant funding to support the transition to the Community Homelessness Prevention Program, known as CHIPPY. Received a report and made appointments to the Niagara Prosperity Request for Proposals Review Committee. Once again, I volunteered for that. It's a very interesting, we have about $2 million set aside to direct towards prosperity initiatives, raising people out of poverty. And Niagara is unique in the fact that we have used about 8 different criteria to determine the level of poverty in neighborhoods throughout Niagara. And we ask for submissions from those neighborhoods from various things. In some cases, in all cases, not-for-profits, but for programs. Right now, I think the requests total about $4 million in proposals. And this selection committee has I think, an excellent process of reviewing 3 adjudicators, reviewing independently, scoring them, okay, giving them evaluation, and then a group determination after that. And that actually begins tomorrow for those proposals. Received a report and authorized staff to implement a convalescent care program at Lynn Haven Long-Term Care Home with Lynn's funding for 6.3 full-time equivalent staff and up to $100,000 in minor capital improvements. That will include beds for the individuals. This is a win question mark situation. What we're doing is removing 20 long-term care beds out of the system, which already has long waiting lists. However, many of the people who occupy beds in long-term care homes with a convalescent process could probably return to their home and thus, in a sense, freeing up more spaces in the long run. But this is the first one of its nature in terms of the Lynn area, and certainly I think will be a benefit to those in Niagara. Public Works Committee had a presentation regarding an environmental assessment study and a preferred design concept for the replacement of the Central Avenue Bridge in the town of Fort Erie. Had a report on the Niagara Water Treatment Plant 2012 summary reports, and had a report and approved revisions to the existing, typo here, not oblique, Public Works policy regarding hauled sludge operations on municipal roads. Received a report on combined sewer overflows, control policy, and approved local municipal project regional cost sharing of $2.8 million. And I can't quite rationalize why it was $2.9 million in corporate services approved funding, but it's $2.8 million here. Mr. Mayor, you may know in terms of being the chair of that one committee. Received a report on the administrative controls in place for transportation operations oversight, and a report on projected cost overruns on road and bridge construction on a section of Regional Road 81 that's from St. Paul Street West in St. Catharines along to King Street in the town of Lincoln. This is the second area of cost overrun. The other one, you will have seen the reports in the newspaper where our mayor was looking at the concern for the overrun at Effingham and Pelham Road in terms of that, and this is a second one. As has been reported by the commissioner, probably over the years, almost 99% of them never even see a cost overrun. In many cases, a cost underrun, but there hasn't been sufficient oversight in the past. We're ensuring that those mechanisms are in place for any future control. Doesn't meet, as I mentioned, 6:30 this Thursday in open session, followed by a closed session. I believe we are, Mr. Mayor, although on the calendar on BlackBerry, it's following a council business planning meeting.
No, it's this week.
That's what I thought too. Maybe that's what it was going to be before we changed the March break.
Probably. So you asked the question, so I have the answer. In corporate services, it was initiating the projects, and in public works, it was actually the projects. So we have a 2-step process, as Councillor Beatty will know, with capital projects. We actually have to, after approved in the budget, then it has to be initiated, and then you actually approve the project. So it's really a 3-step process, different than what we do here. And then, in addition, maybe the treasurer can just comment on the funding that we've received and what it's for. Would you mind, Ms. Pupol?
The funding was 27,000. It's for the arches, for the establishment of the arches and then the lighting of the arches.
Okay, thank you. You keep looking over at
Getting
Ms.
the nod
Ms. Van
from Mrs.
Ravensway.
Ravensway.
And I think it's because it fits within the public domain incentive program that the region has as part of their incentive. So that's the second funding that the reconstruction of downtown has received. The first was 100,000 a couple of years ago, and now this is for public art, really. So that's what it was for. Thank you. I wonder if any councillors have any questions for Councillor Beatty? Councillor Kersey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you. Councillor Beatty, I'm interested in the convalescent care program. And is this being viewed as a study opportunity to assess the impact of such a program as this? And if so, have there been metrics put in place to evaluate it after a year's time, et cetera, et cetera?
The LIN has basically had a number of initiatives to promote aging at home, providing support services, and I think a lot of the funding that's happening through Welland in terms of their wellness program, et cetera, is in that same regard. And yes, this will be a first for this area, and as I said at the outset, there is an expense to it, because you are having 20 less, but the general feeling that will be measured through the metrics is how long will the stays be, okay, in terms of that, and how many people will be diverted back to their home for independent living, as opposed to taking up space that would have otherwise not been necessary at an existing long-term care home, either regional or private. And we have developed, I think, a very strong rapport with the land. There's been a number of programs that seemed for a while last year, it was almost every meeting. We found that we were getting additional FTEs for program X, Y, Z. As you know, Dominic Ventresca was a very strong presence, okay, in terms of the province as a leader in senior care. And the person who's replaced him also has a very high profile, and Niagara is regarded as, in a sense, a leader in many of the areas of both public health as well as the social services. And it is a fact that it's 100% funding, and it's no impact on the taxpayer of Niagara, which is good news.
Thank you, Councillor.
No, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Others? Councillor Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Councillor Beatty, under the circle route presentation, integrating planning, you mentioned some concerns that were brought forward about the ferry at Port Robinson. I'm just wondering, is there a fee for a ride? I'm not familiar whatsoever with that whole process. Is there a fee if someone wanted to take advantage of that service?
Now, currently, there is no fee for it. One of the downsides, it has been talked about as an option. It would not even come close to full recovery. In turn, it would be too prohibitive if it were, but if there were, let's say, a $2 charge. One of the downsides is for many cyclists, unless they were pre-warned about it, don't necessarily carry money with them in their cycling activities. But it has been looked at. It's a matter that's under discussion with the Seaway Authority. My understanding from talking with the Mayor of Thorold is that the Seaway Authority, while they're not wanting to reopen or initiate a new contract, they are willing to upgrade the docks, the washroom area, making it more handicapped accessible, as well as, I think, refurbishing with a new boat and motor. So they will put in some significant capital dollars to provide the service where their balking is any ongoing operational. And one of the issues that unfortunately wasn't dealt with at the time is that it was left to be an agreement between the City of Thorold and the St. Lawrence Seaway Authority. In fact, because at that time it was a regional road as well, it's unfortunate that there wasn't also a contract with the region of Niagara to ensure the longevity of the service.
Thank you. I was just looking at that as the possibility of some cost recovery, knowing full well we'd never get all of it back, or the region would never get all of it back. But another possibility may be sponsorship of this as well. But anyway, I'll leave that up to the experts. Thank you.
As we draw to the point of having that final cessation of the current contract and getting into the new capital investment, those areas will be explored as possibilities.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Any other questions for Councillor Beatty?
Right.
Yes.
If I may, just slightly, I know there's an item of correspondence, this is with another hat on.
Yes, yeah.
Regarding Yale Crosley and their upcoming reunion. It is my intention to, through the clerk's office, request to appear as a delegation. So I'll speak before myself at your next council meeting to update you on the nature of the program. Planning to talk with Ms. Van Ravensway and other staff regarding the planning and safety concerns, the issue of parking, shuttle buses, et cetera. So at your next meeting, if you have time on your agenda, I'd like to bring that forward to you.
Excellent, we'd certainly welcome that.
And the one item I passed on to the clerk is that we are in the process, as you're aware, that Friday and Saturday, we're planning to have sale of alcohol. That's been true for about the last 20 years on school property for reunions. But we need to have our LLBO permission. And one of the items to be concerned, I forget, and this is out of the exact wording, but it's an item of municipal significance, I think is the wording, that requires a letter. And I'll be asking for a formal resolution in terms that we'd like to proceed with the LLBO application at this point, but actually seeking a formal resolution at that later point.
Okay.
So if there are any questions regarding tonight's correspondence, I'll be back to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you very much. We look forward to that. Thank you very much, Councillor Beatty, for a comprehensive report, and we look forward to seeing you at the region on Thursday. Thank you. Our next item of business is minutes of the following, of council meetings. There we are. Perfect. The minutes of the following council meetings be adopted as printed, circulated, and read. The first is the special council meeting of February 13th, 2013, and the second is a regular council meeting of March 4th, 2013. Are there any errors or omissions in those minutes? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. The next item is consent agenda items to be considered in block. Before we consider them, are there any items that members of council would like to lift for separate consideration? Councillor Papp.
Two items, Mr. Mayor. Under information 11.3-2, the City of Port Colborne Resolution, the Great Lakes. And item 11.3.7, the Pelham Chamber of Commerce Business Development Strategy.
Okay. Thank you. Others? Councillor Ribbiak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to lift item 11.3.6, E.L. Crosley 50th Reunion.
Okay. Thank you. Others? Thank you. It has been moved by Councillor Durley, second by Councillor King, that the following consent agenda items be received and approved. 11.1, resolutions arising from the March 4th, 2013 Committee of the Whole meeting. Item 11.2, minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting of March 4th. 11.3, information correspondence items received to March 13th as follows. The first, a thank you letter from the Child Advocacy Center of Niagara. The third, because the second has been lifted, the third is a letter from J.R. Lemick regarding the Environmental Protection Bylaw. The fourth, from S. Keratops regarding the Environmental Protection Bylaw. The fifth, from W&L Patterson regarding the Environmental Protection Bylaw. The eighth, because the sixth and seventh have been lifted, is the minutes of the Communities in Bloom Committee of January 16th, 2013, and the ninth and final are the minutes of the Summerfest Committee's meetings of February 20th and 27th, 2013. Do members of council have any questions or comments about any of those items under consent agenda? Councilor? No? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. And three items were lifted. First two by Councillor Papp. The first is a resolution by the City of Port Colborne.
Yes,
Councillor?
thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Members of council, Mr. Mayor, I'm just asking, it's pretty self-explanatory, the resolution that has been drafted by and endorsed by the City of Port Colborne. And I would ask in consideration of our also concerns about environmental items that we support this resolution, particularly as it has a major impact on all the waterway systems throughout the Great Lakes, including the canal, and would have some bearing on some of the things that we're doing here locally.
Okay,
So
thank
all I
you.
would ask for is the endorsement of that particular resolution.
So that we receive the item of correspondence and support and
And
endorse.
support the endorsement. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Durley. Do you want to speak to it, Councillor?
Yes, I might add and circulate as well for
Thank you,
for
Councillor.
purposes of information to everyone. It is a very important item.
Okay. Thank you. Any other discussion to it? It is self-evident, very many whereases, and certainly a major issue in the Great Lakes, the Asian carp. I'm going to call the question on that. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Councillor Papp, you had another item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. I would ask that the Pelham Chamber Business Development proposal be lifted and brought back before us, Committee of the Whole. The next scheduled meeting is
2 weeks from today.
April 2nd.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor King? So that it's essentially moved to that meeting for
I would ask that you
discussion.
move to
Okay.
that meeting in full discussion at that point.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
other discussion? I'm gonna, if there being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. We'll look forward to that discussion at that time. And then the final, Councillor Ribbiak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I asked that 11.3.6 be lifted with regard to the E.L. Crosley 50th reunion. The item is listed in 11.3 information correspondence items. When I read the letter, I had the impression, perhaps I wasn't alone, that perhaps E.L. Crosley wanted us to actually not only receive it, but also to consider doing something about it. And to that end, Mr. Mayor, what I'd like to do is to propose that we indeed sponsor, become a sponsor of the 50th reunion by participating in their program. And I would move, if I have a seconder, to that we sponsor them at the gold level, at $1,500.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor King? All right, thank you. So the motion is that we certainly receive it and that we become a sponsor for E.L. Crosley's 50th reunion at a gold level sponsor, which is for $1,500, so limited to one sponsor, I see. Any further discussion to the matter?
I think Councillor Papp had his hand up before I did.
Well,
Okay, Councillor
just a quick question through the staff. What has been the practice with these types of requests? I'm just curious, so that, have we in fact endorsed that, or Madam
Looking around,
Treasurer?
I don't know.
Whoever wants to
Madam
answer it.
Treasurer?
You're up, Carrie.
For $1,500, I would just recommend that it would come from the operating budget, and we would use the funds from one of the departments, preferably rec department.
Okay. But in terms of in the past, I mean, this is
In the past-
sort of their
I'm not
first,
worried about the money. I'm
their
just worried about
first
the practical.
reunion.
Yeah, in the past,
there
for
a
these
40th?
small monetary type items, they've been recommended to come from the operating, or just the donation part.
I understand that.
Okay.
I'm not worried. I just don't want the precedent of actually doing this.
I'm not aware of other donations.
Because I know
of this
I'm
type.
aware of something else that may be coming here as well along the similar lines. So if it's
Ms. Van
Ms.
Ravensway,
can you
you're-
answer that, just help us?
Ms. Van Ravensway?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that we are, as Councillor Beatty did say, that we will be meeting. At that meeting, they will be requesting certain services as well. So after the meeting, we can report. But as in cash donations, I can't think of any.
That we've
That is-
done.
No.
So maybe we should defer
Okay.
that until we hear more.
Thank you. Others? Councillor Durley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just wondering, in light of the issue brought forth by Councillor Papp, that, we should be looking, since we do not have a policy in this regard, perhaps we should refer this back to staff to say, okay, is there a policy that we have followed in the past? And if not, should we form a policy before acting upon this? And I think this is where Councillor Papp was coming. I'm going to
That's where
fully
I'm going
agree with the thought process. And I think
No
all due respects, it is truly a worthwhile cause. However, it could open up, something that may cause us some grief in the long run. But, if we can give it back to staff and they can come back with something, I think we would be able to debate and make a much better decision in the future with more information.
Thank you. So are you
I'll make a
making
motion
that
to
motion?
refer back to staff and to report back to us. Would next meeting be too soon? Okay, if we can do that for the next meeting, and then certainly a delay of that, hopefully Councilor Ribbiak is agreeable to such a move, and then we could certainly deal with it and have a good debate.
Okay, thank you. Is there? Thank you, Councillor. The CAO is wondering whether it should be the priorities and policies meeting, or whether it should be at the next meeting where Crosley is going to be presenting to us. Counselor, what is your?
You know, in light of the fact that more information will be coming, I'm thinking maybe we should wait to see what the report from that committee is coming, and we can do it at the following policies and priorities from that. That way we'll have information that will be forthcoming as promised by Councillor Beatty, who is in part and parcel of that whole process.
Okay,
So
so
when that
you're-
does come through, we'll have a plethora of information to deal with.
Okay, so your motion then is to refer it back to staff to come back at the PNP meeting for
I
consideration.
think that would be very
Okay.
prudent in light of what more is coming to us. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Papp. Any further discussion about timing and things like that? Councillor Ribbiak, regarding timing?
No, regarding timing, no. Regarding the substance of the motion.
Just a second, please. Referring to staff. Referring to staff. Okay, go ahead, sir. Just wondering, just by our rules, whether it's debatable or not. It is. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't propose to debate it. I think it's an excellent idea. The fact of the matter is that we have a process, and the process, of course, is the budgeting process, and our expectation is that people with long-range plans will bring to us those expenses that they wish us to consider, and we include those as we see fit into our plan. But of course, opportunistically, things occur, often run by committees of volunteers who don't necessarily follow a strict plan, and so from time to time requests will come to us that are outside of the budgeting process, and as in this case, those requests are for initiatives that are of tremendous benefit to the town insofar as they bring many people to it, a lot of opportunity, a lot of attention to the town. And so we ought to give ourselves the opportunity through a policy to be able to consider those things and have a process by which we can deal with them transparently and objectively. So I'm fully in support of the notion of having a discussion toward a policy to deal with this sort of item.
All right, thank you. Others? There being none, I call the question on the motion to refer. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. I guess that goes to you. Thank you. The next item are presentation consideration of correspondence requiring action. The first has been moved by Councillor Kersey, seconded by Councillor Papp. The correspondence dated March 11th, 2013 from the Fawn Hill Lions Club seeking $6,500 for funding for a new digital sign be received. Discussion? Councillor Ribbiak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe we just had a discussion, and this is the kind of item I think that comes up from time to time that we need to give ourselves an opportunity to discuss through a policy and a process that is objective and transparent.
So, are you providing any action out of that, or just received? Right now, the motion is to receive. Do you want to refer it?
I think we ought to receive it and reconsider it in the light of whatever policy that we determine is appropriate for these.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're just going to receive it, is what you're suggesting?
Yes, please.
Councillor Kersey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move a direction to staff that staff engage in a discussion with the Fawn Hill Lions group to find out and explore what benefits this sign might be to the town and those groups in town that could use it for advertising, the type of timelines we might be allocated, et cetera, so that we can better weigh in the equation what our use would be versus the dollars that we'd be expending.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Papp? And any further discussion to that? Just want to remind council that we do have, or did receive some funding from another service club, the Fenwick Lions Club, for a sign. A little bit of a different situation where it's the town sign on town property, but the Lions Club stepped up and donated, along with the Lioness, donated funds to support that sign, and there were certain so certain things there, their logo and things like that on it, and they have certain use. So when this comes back, I think it'd be very important to get that information as well and see if there's some parallels that can be drawn as well. Okay? Any further discussion to the motion for staff direction? Going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. The clerk tells me that the staff direction is carried, but not the motion to receive. So now the motion to receive. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. And I hope the matter is now dealt with. And it is. Thank you. The next item has been moved by Councillor Papp, seconded by Councillor Cursed, the correspondence dated March 7th from Lipa Park requesting permission to hold community festivals on the following dates. May 20th, July 7th, August 11th, September 15th be received and approved, and the clerk be directed to advise Lipa Park representatives. Any discussion regarding this matter? Councillor Kersey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is another one of those items that crops up from time to time that could be well delegated to staff tonight, and that council would be informed of the information on a monthly basis. So I just refer it again to staff to include that upon their list of things that, as we develop that policy.
Okay. Seattle?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To comment on the councillor's comments, staff has started the process of drafting this policy. I believe that's been flagged in the upcoming P&P meeting. We're just not there yet, so we need more time, but it is on its way.
Good. Okay, thank you. We'll take that, staff will take that under direction without a motion. Anything further? Please put these in your dates in your book. So that's the open house, the sausage festival, music in the park, and the harvest fest. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. The next item has been moved by Councillor Kersey, second by Councillor Papp. The correspondence dated March 7th, 2013, from the Ministry of Natural Resources regarding the Fonthill Cane Delta ANSI, and that myself, Mayor Augustine, be directed to request a meeting with the Minister and Deputy Minister in this regard. Any discussion to the matter? Also included in the package, I thought it was prudent to include a copy of the correspondence that I recently sent to the Minister, congratulating him on his appointment. He was the former parliamentary assistant to the Minister of Natural Resources and now is the Minister, and at that point requesting a meeting. I think this motion will give us a little bit more credence to the request and help facilitate that meeting. Councillor Kersey?
Mr. Mayor, I had a question, and perhaps you can explore it with the minister on your meeting. What form the public consultation will take? He expressly comments on that it would begin on April the 22nd. So I wondered what format that would take, whether it be, signboards, information, or whether it be a presentation and feedback. So perhaps you could include that in your
Thank you.
discussions.
We'll certainly ask that. What they've done in the past is that they've sent letters around to interested parties, specifically landowners in the area that are affected, and they've asked for feedback within a 30-day period. So they may do the same, they may not. There's a certain protocol that's referred to in the letter, and we can get some more clarity on what that protocol is.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. We'll follow up with that immediately. Thank you. And now, presentation consideration of reports. We have 3 reports. The first is from Councillor King. Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am reporting for the Pelham Community Policing Committee. Following a special meeting on February the 12th and a subsequent meeting on March the 5th, the volunteers of that committee have reached a decision to dissolve the committee. The decision is the result of the directive that was given earlier this year by the Niagara Regional Police Service, of which was reported at the February 4th council meeting. The committee, however, will follow through on its obligation to host the Community Safety Day, which is being held on May the 29th at Centennial Park in Fenwick. It's hoped that on a going forward basis, that Welland's Safe Communities Group, and I might add at this point that Welland actually dissolved their community policing committee at least 2 years ago, and they moved in a different direction with an entirely different committee towards a designation for Safe Communities Canada, I believe it's called. But we're hoping that they will be interested in taking the torch and will provide a safety day for the elementary school children of, it would be a combination of Welland and Pelham together, beginning next year. And that is being explored by the NRP liaison officer, so hopefully we'll have some feedback on that. Part of our reason to shift that particular event as a combined event with Welland is the declining number of elementary school children that are participating. At, I believe it was 3 years ago, we had upwards of 500 children. This year, we are having great difficulty having 200 children, and for the last 2 years, we have included a couple of the Welland schools. So hopefully that will continue. It'll just take a little different route. As well, the volunteers will offer parade marshalling assistance to the Canada Day and Santa Claus Day committees, or Santa Claus Parade committees, excuse me. And it's hoped that the Active Transportation Committee may have an interest in taking on the Speed Watch program. The the Active Transportation Committee has a meeting tomorrow evening, and I will be addressing that with them at that time. The other assets will be redistributed following the expenses of Safety Day, and the website will be redirected on an interim basis, and I will talk to staff with that in that regard. And that concludes my report.
Okay,
Thank
you
you
very much. We certainly appreciate the work of the members of the Pelham Community Policing Committee. Many of them have been serving a number of years, and maybe Councillor King, you can, including yourself, predating your service here on council, maybe that's something that council will want to think about in terms of honoring those volunteers in the future, shortly after the effective date of the discontinuation of the committee. I don't, whenever that date is. It sounds like it'll be toward the end of the school year as opposed to immediately.
If I may,
Go
Mr.
ahead,
Mayor,
Councillor.
just to respond to that. The directive from the NRP is that the committee is dissolved by March 31st. So the committee will be dissolved by
Okay.
March 31st. And what we're doing, instead of the Community Policing Committee hosting the Community Safety Day, we will just reform
I see.
as the Community Safety Committee
Okay.
for that particular event.
Okay. Thank you for the clarity.
You're welcome.
And we'll look forward to that transition going
you.
forward. Thank you again for your service on that committee and you being the chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ribbiak, you have a report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm pleased to report to council and to the town of Pelham that the Niagara Central Airport Commission, of which I am a member representing this council in the town of Pelham, has entered into a long-term agreement with the Niagara Skydive Center to lease Hangar 1 to be the location of a variety of services at the Niagara Central Airport. The Niagara Skydive Center is moving their very successful skydive business to our airport from Dunnville as a result of incompatible changes of property use there. The Niagara Skydive Center provides 5,000 to 7,000 parachute jumps annually, both tandem and solo, including jumps associated with their parachute jumping training program. This program involves 25 or so employees at the airport and accounts for about 10,000 visitors to the area every year. So skydiving will be a significant and exciting new development at the airport. Further to skydiving, Niagara Skydive Center, through a strategic partnership, will replace the loss of aircraft mechanical services and pilot training at the airport, which had been provided by another company until January of this year. The strategic partnership has a vision of a future at the airport, which includes a much expanded flight school, as well as the provision of new charter and tourist flight services. So the Niagara Central Airport Committee welcomes Mr. Tim Gretsch and Mr. David George to the Niagara Central Airport, and we look forward to developments of their business at the airport in the years to come. I would also like to acknowledge the excellent work done by our airport manager, Mr. David Devine, in bringing this very wonderful business opportunity to the airport. Clearly, the 2012 restructuring of the management model at NCA is working. I will keep council informed of any further developments at our airport, and I would add that this month's committee meeting, which will be held on March 28th at the airport, will have in attendance both Mr. Gretsch and Mr. George, so that we can introduce them to the users of the airport, and they'll have an opportunity to explain in detail what their plans are and what developments they have in mind at the airport. That's my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you very much for your report, Councillor. Great work, and certainly the commission is to be commended, and you as well. Do members of council have any questions for Councillor Rybak at this time? Or we can look forward to future discussions. Councillor Papp?
As I mentioned to you, Councillor Rybak, this is excellent considering the evolution of the airports, both centrally and out of the other parts. So this is an enormous step forward. What are there any other possible business options that you're exploring at the airport right now? Or are you at liberty to say anything, or is there other possibilities that you're looking down the road to enhance its service?
Councillor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The short answers are yes and no. Yes, we are considering other business opportunities, and there are, in fact, very active discussions at work. And unfortunately, I am obviously at this early stage not in a position to openly discuss them. I will bring them here to this table as soon as I can.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Other questions? Perfect. What time's that meeting?
Meetings are at 6:30, the last Thursday of every month, so March 28th. At the airport, and I understand that because we anticipate more than the usual number of people in the gallery, this meeting will actually be held in the lounge area of Hangar 1.
Very good.
I might also point out, Mr. Mayor, that there is an expectation that when the ribbon cutting occurs in this business, you may be taking a tandem jump out of an airplane to help us get started.
I hope that's a ribbon cutting and not a parachute cutting, Councillor.
Can we ride along to watch?
I think it's James Bond.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I look forward to that.
007.
Well, I gotta watch.
Thank you, Councillor.
Dr. Evil will
Very
right
colorful
behind you.
report. We do have another report from another colleague, Councillor Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Always eager to bring forward good news and celebrate successes. I am very pleased to bring forward that two of our teams involved with the Pelham Minor Hockey Association are participating in the Ontario Minor Hockey Association provincial finals. The Adam Additional Entry team opened their series against Huntsville this weekend. They started on Saturday with a 3-3 tie, and unfortunately on Sunday the luck of the Irish wasn't with us, and we lost 2-0. So in fact, it is a 3 out of 5 series are the first team to get 6 points. So the series there stands 2 points to 1. The next game, and I think it may interest everyone, next weekend, because of the travel involved, Saturday and Sunday. Games are scheduled in Pelham on Saturday at 6 p.m. and Sunday at 2:30 p.m., and that will be Game 3 and 4 of this series. Game 4 and 5 will be announced. They're here, but they will be announced later. The Peewee AE team also opened their series, but they were at home on Sunday, and unfortunately, the luck of the Irish wasn't with us there either, and we lost the game 4-1, so we are down in that series, but certainly not out, and the games are against Dorchester, This team will travel to Dorchester on Tuesday evening and return home on Saturday at 1:20 in the afternoon for Game 3, which is a home game, and that incidentally would be an ideal opportunity for folks that are interested in watching our youth play hockey, because there will be 2 games on Saturday in the Pelham Arena, 1:20 against Dorchester, the Pee Wee team will play, and 6 p.m. In the evening against Huntsville, the Adam team will be playing, and I'm pleased to announce that the mayor did take part, I believe, in the official puck drop for the first game on Sunday, I believe.
Yes.
And I hope it wasn't you that brought the luck of the Irish to us.
Should have had a green puck there, I guess.
Exactly, and it's the teams are very excited, and we wish them luck. Anybody who is interested, certainly you will have an entertaining afternoon and evening to watch these boys play hockey, these children play hockey, because there are boys and girls involved, and really it is a thrill to watch, and the support that they have, I think, will help them to move forward, and we wish them all the best of luck. Thank you for the opportunity to bring this forward.
Thank you very much, Councillor, for your report, and it was a good game on Sunday. They just couldn't put it together as much as Dorchester did, but look forward to them competing on Tuesday and ahead. So thank you very much for your report, and I am noticing a bit of a trend of making fun of the mayor during council reports. And that's okay. All right, we do have other business to attend to, and that item is staff reports requiring action. The first has been moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Kersey, that Council receive the issue sheet for agenda item 14.2.1 regarding town branding, and that the recommendation contained therein be approved as follows. The Council approve the proposal submitted by Chimpanzee to undertake the exercise of creating a brand for the town of Pelham. Any discussion regarding this matter? Councillor Papp?
2 quick questions. I'm not sure who can answer them, but I noticed in their reference report that the background that they had done work for the town of Pelham. What exactly had they done for us?
Mr. CEO?
Do you know?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. They haven't done work for the town yet. However, we have retained their services for the development of our website.
Okay.
But that process has not begun.
Okay, thank you. Councillor?
Maybe I missed it. What is I know we had an upset amount of $50,000. What is the final amount? What is the amount that they bid? 20? Mm-hmm. So we're under budget. Okay, I didn't pick up on that. So we're basically not, so we're going to expend approximately $21,000 for the branding. Correct? Is that fair?
Mr. CEO?
CEO?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The plan is, if council approves this, we'll go back to Chimpanzee, and I'm confident that there will be some efficiencies found because one firm is handling both contracts. So I'm optimistic that we can discuss some additional savings.
I'm satisfied.
Okay. Thank you. Others? Councillor Kersey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, a comment. I think it's excellent that we are moving ahead with this. I'm thinking in terms of economic development, to have an identifiable brand that can be brought out to the business sphere is very important, and to do it in conjunction with our new website, I think is an excellent move. In the proposal, one of the concerns I have is that area that is highlighted in blue on page 13 of their proposal, and it talks about things that are outside the scope, and yet they are things that are important, I think, in terms of rollout of our branding, utilization in printed media, etc. That it almost appears that that's going to be an additional cost outside the scope of the RFP. I'd like to get some clarity on that before we completely move ahead, or at least a report come back to council identifying what that means in terms of dollars and cents.
Mr. CEO? Madam Treasurer?
The RFP was written to develop the brand strategy with the new marketing and communications individual that's now here at the town. The font structure and keeping templates and stuff like that were deemed to be in-house type items. So we had that eliminated from here. We're not anticipating that we'll have to go to that route, but any additional costs will come back forward to council if they need to happen.
Okay, thank you. Councillor?
Great answer.
Okay. Thank you. Others? Certainly want to echo your comments, Councillor, in terms of the branding for the town, especially given the direction that this council has taken in terms of vibrant, creative, and caring. And I think one of the key elements of this branding is involvement of the community. For any branding to be successful, one has to involve as many people as possible, and that will be such a huge part of this. And even as we think about some of the creative problem solving that we've undertaken as a town, it's important to involve the community in those as well. So I look forward to that element, involving the community, the business community, residents, whether they're just new to the town or whether they've been here for a very, very long time. It would be important to have their involvement, and this proposal has that. So I'm supportive as well. Anyone else want to speak to the motion? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you. It has been, the next item has been moved by Councillor Papp, seconded by Councillor Clark. The council received the issue sheet for agenda item 14.2.2 regarding the library needs assessment revision of the terms of reference, and that the recommendation contained therein be approved as follows. The council approve the expanded terms of reference for the library needs assessment study. Any discussion regarding this matter? Councillor Gurley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to open with the fact that I attended the meeting at the Fenwick Fire Hall last month, and the consultant was very, very thorough in gathering information, and I have every confidence that what he has gathered certainly will be great in his report, his final report that was coming. And just for everybody's information, I believe it's next Tuesday night at Fire Station 1 at 6:30 is the second of two meetings, which will deal with his gathering of information. I think those dates are very important. I also would like to point out that, contrary to popular belief that some have out on the street, that this is in no way meant to put an axe to any particular function or any particular person or any particular part of the service. So I think that's very important, and I think in order for this person to do his job properly, I think the expanded terms of reference is going to be very important to him, because the operation of our library services across the whole town certainly is very vital, and any information that he can gather about the total package will be very valuable to us. So I'm fully in favor of this, and would like to point out that we should really wait. I anticipate an excellent report from this individual. His firm is very experienced in this and very knowledgeable in library assessments and library needs. When it does come forward, I'm sure it will be very valuable to us to make the final decision as to what should go. But until such time as that happens, there is no hidden agenda or outward agenda to do anything specific. In fact, what we're looking for, gentlemen, you have a job. Please bring us back the information we need, and I think that's important to bring forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor. Appreciate that. And just to note, that's on the 26th of March is that meeting at Fire Station number 1. I believe it's 6, is it 6 or 6:30? Pardon?
I think 6. But
6. I have it at 6 as well as a start. So thank you very much, Councillor Gurley, for highlighting that. Others? Councillor Kersey, our rep on the library board.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, I'd like to echo Councillor Durley's comments. The consultant made it abundantly clear that he did not go into the process with any preconceived notions, and basically that's the way we wanted to have it. And he is collecting information. He's yet to bring an interim report. That won't be forthcoming until after the second public meeting being held in Fonthill this coming week. So clearly no decisions have been made by either the consultant or the library board. So as Councillor Durley said, contrary to popular belief and misinformation out there, I wanted to clarify that. Secondly, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that this matter be deferred until such time as both the steering committee and the library board be apprised of the contents of this proposal. Well, I heartily support what is contained in there and feel it is absolutely necessary. I feel that it is prudent on our part to have the library board, the volunteers that put their time in to govern the library, be informed about the process that we are undertaking and to get their endorsement. So for that reason, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that this matter be deferred until such time as the library board can be apprised of the contents, but not later than the next council meeting.
Okay, thank you. So that's a motion to postpone is the language we used. And I wonder if there's a seconder for that. Councillor Papp? That was a question of mine. Councillor, have the library board seen this and reviewed it? So that timing will work in terms of there's a meeting that's upcoming, et cetera?
I spoke to the chair of the library board today, and she is prepared to call a special meeting of the board. As well, the steering committee is meeting on the 26th prior to the public information meeting. So we'll be able to cover off the basis prior to our next meeting.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Any further questions regarding the motion to postpone? Councillor Durley?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just the wording of my colleague saying we're waiting for the endorsement of the library board, does that preclude if they don't endorse it that this won't go forward? I just have some problems with the wording. I think, do we need somebody else's approval to go forward with this is a question I'm asking.
Councillor
If I
Kersey?
may speak to that, Mr. Mayor. The governance of the library is in the hands of the library board. Well, we substantially support the library financially. In point of fact, under the Libraries Act, the library board is responsible for its governance. So it would be akin to myself going to another private business and saying, I don't like the way you operate that, or I think you can improve the way you operate your business, so I'm willing to pay a consultant to go in and look at your business operations and get a report back to tell you how to operate. So in my mind, Councillor, I think that it is prudent that we acknowledge the time and the effort that the library board puts in with respect to their governance and give them their due respect to comment on that.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Durley?
No further comment, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Others? So we do have a motion to postpone, and that will be essentially to the next meeting of council, but looking for an endorsement by the library board and the steering committee. So I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. The next item has been moved by Councillor Papp, seconded by Councillor Kersey, that council receive the issue sheet for agenda item 14.2.3 regarding signs for the Village Artist Art Show, and that the recommendation contained therein be approved as follows. The council approved the request from the Village Artist for the erection of signs to promote the Village Artist Studio Tour in accordance with the applicant's submission, and that the following conditions be applied with. 1, signs shall not be erected in sight lines of traffic. 2, payment of the sign permit. 3, signs are to be removed by June 4th, 2013. This might be one of those other items
Ditto.
under for staff to deal with. Any other comments on this particular matter, as opposed to, and staff will note that this is one of those items. Going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. The next item has been moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Kersey, that council receive the issue sheet for agenda item 14.2.4 regarding signs for the Pelham Art Festival, and that the recommendation contained there and be approved as follows. The council approved the request from the Pelham Art Festival for the erection of signs to promote their annual festival in accordance with the applicant's submission, and that the following conditions be complied with. The signposts are not to be inserted into the ground more than 8 inches unless locates for municipal services have been obtained. Signs are not to be located in the site triangle. Payment of the required sign permit fee, and signs are to be removed by May 14th, 2013. Comments or questions? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. We look forward to both events coming to our community. The next item member of council has declared a conflict of interest. And it has been moved by Councillor Kersey, second by Councillor Papp. The council receive issue sheet for agenda item 1425 regarding an application for site plan at 835 Foss Road, and that the recommendations contained there be approved as follows: that for reasons outlined in the issue sheet, application for site plan at 835 Foss Road, council approve the proposed amendment to the site plan control agreement application SP 0213 Richard and Visca Ribiak, 835 Foss Road, and further that council consider the required bylaw authorizing the mayor and clerk to sign a site plan agreement between the town of Pelham and Richard and Visca Ribiak